Israeli warplanes have conducted fresh air raids on the besieged Gaza Strip, killing a total of 30 Palestinians and wounding dozens. The Palestinian Wafa news agency reported on Friday that 29 people lost their lives in the aerial assaults that targeted the Tabatabai family home in Gaza City's Daraj neighborhood. Also on Friday, the report added, Israeli warplanes bombed areas in the Nusayrat refugee camp in central Gaza, including a primary school. One civilian was killed and dozens more were injured in the Israeli strikes on the school housing displaced people. The injured were transferred to the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital in Deir al-Balah. Earlier, Palestinian media reports said Israeli forces had bombed several parts of northern Gaza. The report said some of the bombings occurred in the Zaytun neighborhood of Gaza City, while a mosque in central Gaza City was also targeted. Israeli forces also bombed a vacated residence in the Buri refugee camp in central Gaza. Earlier, Al Jazeera reported that 6 people were killed after Israeli forces bombed the Firas market in Gaza City. The Israeli strikes come amid growing calls for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, where more than 6 months of a brutal Israeli aggression has killed at least 33,634 Palestinians, mostly women and children, and injured 76,214 others. On Friday, Gaza's health ministry said that 89 people have been killed in Israeli attacks on Gaza in the past 24 hours. An additional 120 have been wounded, totaling 76,214 since the Israeli war began in early October. Israel launched the onslaught on October 7th after the Hamas resistance group carried out Operation Al-Aqsa Storm against the usurping entity in retaliation for its intensified atrocities against the Palestinian people. More than 250 humanitarian and human rights organizations worldwide have called for ending arms transfers to Israel amid the bloody ground and airstrikes against the Palestinians in the besieged Gaza Strip, and demanded an immediate ceasefire in the territory. A statement demanding these actions, which was initially issued in January with a Sini list that included 16 major humanitarian and human rights organizations, has in recent months grown substantially as the Israeli military has intensified its attacks in Gaza. The joint statement described itself as an open call to all UN member states to stop fueling the crisis in Gaza and avert further humanitarian catastrophe and loss of civilian life. We, the undersigned organizations, call on all states to immediately halt the transfer of weapons, parts and ammunition to Israel, it said, pointing to the risk they are used to commit or facilitate serious violations of international, humanitarian or human rights law. Israel's bombardment and siege are depriving the civilian population of the basics to survive and rendering Gaza uninhabitable. Today, the civilian population in Gaza faces a humanitarian crisis of unprecedented severity and scale. The statement highlighted the fact that more than 153 UN member states have called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, warning that Israel continues to use explosive weapons and munitions in densely populated areas with massive humanitarian consequences for the people of Gaza. Member states have a legal responsibility to use all possible tools to leverage better protection of civilians and adherence to international humanitarian law.